Have you ever felt like you're working hard to get ahead financially, only to find yourself stuck in the same place or even falling behind? Maybe you've been making progress, but then you splurge on something you don't need or dip into savings just this once. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Today, I'm talking about why this happens. Welcome to the Debt Free Dad podcast, where we help normal, everyday people like you live a happier, less stressful life. I'm Amber, and in 20 months, my husband and I saved and paid off $54,000 and have been living debt free outside of our mortgage since 2018. Today, I'm talking about self sabotaging money behaviors. So, what are self sabotaging money behaviors? They are actions or even inactions that hold us back from achieving financial success. They're those habits that we know aren't good for us, but we do them anyway. Think overspending after maybe a stressful week, constantly raiding your savings account, or avoiding budgeting altogether. According to a 2023 study by Bankrate, 74% of Americans say they've made at least one financial decision they later regretted, with overspending being one of the top culprits. So, why do we self sabotage? Self sabotage often stems from deeper emotional, psychological triggers. It could be tied to stress, fear, or even how we were raised to view money. The American Psychological Association Stress in America report consistently shows that money is the number one source of stress for most Americans. When we're stressed, our brains crave quick relief. And that's when we're more likely to engage in behaviors like impulsive spending or relying heavily on credit cards. I'm going to dive into some common self sabotage behaviors and ways we sabotage ourselves financially. So, impulsive spending, we've all done it. And a survey from Credit Karma found that 46% of Americans have made a purchase they regretted within just a few days. I've been there. I've spent the money. I've made those impulsive purchases. And gosh, stores and marketing are so incredibly good at really finding our pain points so that we make these impulsive purchases. The second most common way we sabotage ourselves financially is avoiding financial conversations. Studies show that over 40% of couples avoid talking about money, which can lead to bigger problems down the road. In fact, money is one of the number one causes of divorce. It is so crucial and important that you have these conversations with your partner, with your significant other, whether it's about where your goals are headed, or maybe it's a problem that you may have with your finances, but it's really, really important that you have these conversations. So if you're finding yourself in a situation where you're not communicating with your partner and maybe you want to bring these topics up, but you're not sure how, I'm actually going to link one of our free resources, The Money Conversation, a conversation guide for couples, in the show notes. So be sure to check out the show notes and grab that free resource. Now, number three of ways that we sabotage ourselves financially is living beyond our means. A 2022 Federal Reserve report revealed that the average household carries over $7,000 in credit card debt. And I would almost bet if they did this study again, it's likely getting higher and higher. Now, number four on the ways that we self sabotage ourselves financially is neglecting savings. According to CNBC, nearly 60% of Americans don't have $1,000 in savings to cover an emergency. And these days, $1,000 really isn't that much. A lot of emergencies you're going to find and come across are going to be more like 2,000, 3,000. So at Debt Free Dad, we recommend that your emergency fund, your first initial emergency fund, is $1,000 to $3,000. And we recommend you try to really focus on building the emergency fund within 30 to 60 days. Now, if you want to dive into ways to build your emergency fund and build it quickly, we do have a couple of episodes that will dive into that, episode 222, as well as episode 191. So be sure to check those out if you want to dive into ways to start saving and be the minority when it comes to having that emergency fund ready for when emergencies happen. So we've talked about some of the most common reasons that we self-sabotage ourselves, but how do we spot these behaviors in ourselves? How do we spot them and then prevent them from happening and make that conscious decision to go, "Ooh, no, this is a trigger," and find a way to work around that? So identifying the behaviors is definitely the first step towards changing that. So you want to ask yourself, do I feel guilty or regret after certain financial decisions? Am I constantly saying, I'll start saving next month, or I'll start working on my budget on the first, and then the next first, and the next first? Do I avoid looking at my bank account or bills? If you answered yes to any of these questions, it's probably time to dig deeper into what's driving these actions. So, then how do you break the cycle? Breaking self sabotage behaviors isn't easy, but it's worth it. So, I'm going to give you some steps on how to help break your self sabotaging behaviors. Number one, identify the triggers. Keep a money journal to track your spending habits and note what's happening emotionally or situationally when you're overspending. If you're overspending when you've had a bad day at work and you're just like frustrated, and on your way home, you're stopping for some retail therapy or you're stopping for takeout, even though you have food ready to cook at home, this may be a trigger. Number two, set boundaries. If credit cards are a weakness for you, consider using cash or a debit card instead. Leave the credit cards at home. Number three, create accountability. Share your goals with trusted friends or family, or join a community. We do have a free online Facebook group called Debt Free Dad Community. You could jump in there and start interacting with us. Number four is you want to celebrate your progress. Focus on small wins. For example, extra $50 this week that you saved because you didn't go for that retail therapy, or you cut out a bill, or you opted to not eat out for lunch all week. Don't downplay it, whether it's $5, $50, or $500. Celebrate your wins. Number five, seek education. Sometimes self sabotage comes from a lack of financial literacy. Invest time in learning more about budgeting, saving, and debt management. And I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you are in the right place. If you haven't already, go back to the beginning and start learning right from the get go. We are on now episode 313, so you've got a lot to catch up on. And if you have been listening, you are educating yourself, and kudos to you. That's fantastic. Now, remember, recognizing self sabotage is a sign of growth. It means you're ready to take control. So, I just want to leave you with this: financial freedom isn't about being perfect, it's about making progress. And you are capable of that progress. If you're ready to break free from living paycheck to paycheck, reduce financial stress, build savings, and finally pay off debt for good, but you're unsure where to start, don't worry. We've got you covered. Simplify My Money is sent each Sunday to your email. It's your step by step roadmap to better financial control, stress free money decisions, and gaining the tools and confidence to tackle your financial goals head on. Sign up for Simplify My Money by clicking on the link at the top of the show notes. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care.